So we got from Travis, who said, feel like exploring the cosmos should have started with the minions of each force instead of the literal leader, Jailer. Feels like TBC did this right. Yeah, I could get that. I think it's that thing. They wanted to tie the Jailer into Sylvanas and do the whole thing and, build the Jailer into the lore of the Lich King, into Warcraft 3, into all of that stuff. And, he's not the leader of death. He's like a rogue entity of death. As for TBC doing it right, yeah, it's that thing. TBC, it was Warcraft 2's expansion again, right? Beyond the Dark Portal. Let's go. We're going through a portal to a strange world, and it's all crazy and weird. And yeah, we see from a very, boots in the ground level outward, just look at all of these weird cosmic things. Whereas in Shadowlands, we're just kind of hanging out in the afterlife, talking to all these people. It's like we're just meeting these Titan-like individuals because all these, the Winter Queen, power level wise is the same as ANR. Now imagine if ANR is just a character we met like that and quested with. We're no, this is ANR. She's really mysterious and you barely get to see her.
Yeah.
So I think, they went way too quick on just bringing all these big characters in, and I think people definitely bounced off that because it's just the grounding to the fantasy setting that people like the most, and I think that the more that you're bringing up the big chart and the big forces and the big stuff, it just makes people feel like, what is any of this anymore? That's the unfortunate thing. Even though all of those cool charts and, these big ideas of how the cosmology of how it works, those can turn into really cool lore, and that can turn into really cool stories and content. It's just, if you're really interested in the lore, you kind of prioritize those big things over the storytelling and the characters and the content bit, it can start to feel a bit weird to players, and I guess it's just that thing. They kind of knew where they wanted to go. Maybe they took us there a bit too quickly. Like the Jailer. Certainly we went there too quickly. The Chocolators got the sigils. We don't even know these sigils. We sort of know what they are, but, they're just kind of MacGuffin that popped in patch 9.1. It's man... That's not the best way to make us care about this big new cosmic character that, power-wise is supposed to be... the Jailer seemingly is more powerful than his brethren, right? So, the Jailer is an Aman'Thul type character. And just the way we sort of deal with him. Yeah, it's weird. I think a lot of what you're saying there, Travis, is just because they've went really quick in these things. Perhaps it all would have felt better if the Jailer was a looming threat for a longer time, maybe multiple expansions, like with Sargeras, and they kept like that. I think I could really agree with people on that one. If we let these things play out over way, way, way longer, then maybe it's not even that the Jailer has a cool storyline. It would be that we hear of the Jailer whispers, little hints for years, slowly gets built up. And then you just make the Jailer appear like Sargeras, that you're whoa. Mind blow. Even though the Sargeras stuff on a character level, we didn't care about Sargeras, coming down and doing that because of some deep character or storytelling thing. It's because, oh fuck, it's Sargeras. We care about this world. We know what he represents in this world, and here he is. It's not a deep emotional character story. It's more a story that's rooted in our emotional attachment to the world. That's the way to do it. You make us feel attached to the world. You hint that these characters are very important to that world, and then we like those characters, rather than trying to do the, hey, we're a narrative game, but also an MMO, which, hey, FF does that.
Yep.
FF, I'll just admit, FF14 is not, I'm liking things so far and all of that, but big prescriptive MSQ, that is not the way I would start doing an MMO. Now, it's probably the way for them to do an MMO, because they're the Final Fantasy people.
Yeah.
But for something like, so I think, I agree with Travis. It's a different way of doing things. And perhaps they'll learn that, because certainly modern way of doing things has got a lot of negative opinions. But when they did get a lot of positive opinions was when they were showing us things in Legion that were just things were happening to the world that were well established through years of lore and speculation. They didn't go too fast. Whereas they were doing all those Legion things, but maybe they forgot that all of that Legion stuff that we got big hype for, like Argus and Sargeras and all of that, we were big hype for that because we'd spent years.
Yeah.
And they just gave us a big, simple, cool, awesome thing like Sargeras. There's no depth really there. I mean, there is in terms of some of the speculations. Oh, Argus, what does he really mean? But it was just, flat out cool shit that was on this basis of, us just always being teased and being interested. But it's like if you just kind of go and then you sort of try to ram that through to people on a way, way faster scale, it's like, no, man, it just needs its time to breathe. So, yeah, Travis, I think if we were exploring the cosmos, but we started off a lot more slowly, I think that would have been a better way to do it. And there's a lot of people who are really, really not enjoying the non-grounded aspects of the WoW setting. I'd say if you did go a little bit more slow, you would be able to boil the frog a bit and win over some of those people. So it's an interesting situation. I enjoy the lore and all of that stuff quite a bit. It's just I wish that it translated in game just a little bit better. A lot of what I was doing today was going through books, learning about Terralion, getting all that stuff together for the video, and that's all been super fun. Yeah, I hope whenever we get Terralion and the stuff happens in game, it just happens at a nice pace. So, man, interesting. What do you think?
The only thing that I'm really thinking here is one specific interaction that bugged me and stuck in my head.
Uh-oh.
And that is doing the Tyrande, the Night Warrior, the Power of Night campaign step, or chapter of the, chapter. So I went, all of us who have done it, went almost to hell and back, nearly literally. I don't think we actually went to the Maw. But we hopped all around the place to grab things for this ritual to help Tyrande as a Night Warrior. We completed it, we got it all sorted, and then there was this cool little fight against Tyrande. And it wasn't the most engaging thing of all time, but it was, it was better than anything they'd done recently. And I was like, fuck, this kind of nice. This kind of getting somewhere. I can see what you're doing. Sweet. I've actually sort of enjoyed this. Outside of it telling me to go from Oribos to Ardenweald just to talk to one character and then go to Revendreth, because I used my wormhole and then had to take a fly path, which took 12 years. But, fuck that. But the real problem is we did that ritual. It felt a little bit dangerous because Tyrande was getting out of control. And the solution was the Winter Queen showing up. It basically feels like she was walking around and then was like, what's that noise? I'll dander over. Tyrande, hang on. This is my sister's power. Would you quit that? And then stopped it. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean? We've known this is a loon. We've known this is a loon's power. You've said something to the fact of your sister's pet. Why is the player character, why is Sargeras not going, could you fucking explain something to us, please? What the hell's going on? Why did we have to go and do all that shit for Tyrande when she turned up and went, oh, I'll solve the problem? So you've got this great character sitting there doing absolutely nothing. And it feels so contrived and so pointless that we're doing all this stuff and all these great godlike characters are sitting around going, not really all that bothered, to be honest with you. And it just feels like the character doesn't exist in the world to me.
It makes the world feel very passive.
Yeah, it's like nothing happens that mattered. I just what was everything I did for? It was nothing. And it wasn't for a good reason where I'm going, oh, okay, the Winter Queen came back from, being busy or anything. It was literally, how did she get here? What is she doing here? Why did we not go to her first? If she could just solve this problem immediately for us. It all feels so ass backwards and put together that it doesn't feel real to me. And I feel like the execution is a lot of the problem for dealing with a literal leader of all of these problems. It feels like there's definitely a speed problem, but there's an execution problem on top of that, where we've met all of these great and powerful characters and we put no faith in them or no stock in them whatsoever because they haven't done anything. The only one who's done anything is the Primus, and all he's actually done is tell us what to do, which is kind of fitting for a tactician or a strategist. But it's the great powerful Primus. He's back. We're ready to go, and I've not really felt that in any real way. That's not just the story telling me it's that way, which is most of the problem. Also, we've got all 4 of the sigils back. What does that matter? What did they do? We're
going to find out next week.
Are we?
In we've got super chat coming for that. But yeah, in the final step, which is going to reveal a bit more of what's to come. Which, I mean, I'm certainly interested in how they deal with this situation with the Chocolate having the sigils, so yeah, we'll find out.